Hey everyone, it's Paul with the Tuesday Bull Profits. So I've been beginning my videos with three disclaimers, warnings, disclosures, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to do that again today, which is to tell you what the purpose of this channel is, which is that this channel, even though it talks about investment ideas, investing, it is for information purposes only. And the reason I say that is that many people may think that we are giving you or telling you investment advice. And the truth is that only a licensed financial advisor that is licensed by your state is legally allowed to give you actual financial advice, because they then sit down with you and work out your personal financial situation and come up with a financial plan, a setup that is appropriate for you. So anything you hear, read, see suggested on this channel is purely for informational purposes, and it has a secondary purpose, which is that I represent a publishing company that is called Bold Profits, that is owned by a bigger company called Banyan Hill. And we use our YouTube channel as a promotional device. So we talk about the kinds of ideas that we write about in our investment newsletters, and we have a number of them. Our main one is called Profits Unlimited. It goes for anywhere from $47 to $99, depending on where you see it. On YouTube, we feature and offer for $47, which you can access by going to profitsunlimited.com. This is a research service that has stocks in it, has cryptocurrencies in it. It is multi-cap, meaning that it can span everything from Bitcoin that has a market capitalization of 1 trillion to things that have a much smaller market value of a few billion. So that's what we mean by multi-cap. And that's many of the ideas that we talk about reference stock ideas that are in Profits Unlimited and in other newsletters. The second thing I want to mention is that any of the ideas that you see us talk here, they are for the long term. We get a lot of comments after we post our videos where people are frustrated, annoyed, angry, irritated that whatever we have talked about has not worked out instantly, in a day, in a week, in a month. I can tell you that across our services, generally speaking, the ideas that we put forward in front of our subscribers, our readers, are in for a minimum of 1 to 3 years. And that is approximately how long you might need to wait to see a positive return from any of the ideas that you see on this channel, if you choose to act on it. And remember, we are not financial advisors. So just to want to make that completely 100% clear. Second aspect of it is that all investing, anything in the stock market, cryptocurrency, it is super volatile. In other words, things go up and down all the time. If you're looking for stability, if you're looking for something that has a perfectly stable value, we're the wrong place for you. So anything we talk about, is intended for the long term. It's going to be volatile. It has risk. And if you're looking for other things, whether it be day trading advice, very short-term advice, lots of channels that do that and do that very, very well. Third thing is that because we have a reasonable following for our newsletters, Profits Unlimited has a subscriber base in excess of 100,000. There are a lot of scammers and fraudsters out there using my face that they take, for example, from the picture profile on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook and others, and are scamming people, asking people to send them money, asking people to send them Bitcoin. And I can tell you that no one from Banyan Hill, Bold Profits, me, our team is ever going to ask you for money, because we sell subscriptions. To buy a subscription, you would need a credit card, and that's the way you would subscribe. So anybody that's asking you for money is just a scam. It's a fraud. And you can see pretty much in the YouTube comments, there's somebody that says, WhatsApp me, contact me. And you may see this on any other social media. It's a fraud. It's a scam. And please never respond to them, and certainly never make the mistake of sending them money. This has actually happened more than once, which is why I'm repeating this warning on a regular basis, in the hope that these folks at the very least will move on to somebody else or just stop completely. All right, now on to this week's video, which is that there are, in my judgment, in our view, this is an amazing time. I mean, genuinely amazing. A lot of people say that, but this is genuinely an amazing time. There are so many old industry sectors that are being, I like to say, disruptified, my own made up word, because it just sounds cool. And then there's just genuinely new stuff that is just happening for the first time. It's like being around for the invention of the steam engine or the first car. And today I want to talk about 5 insane, cool, fun ideas that have the genuine potential of changing human life and also making you potentially a lot of money. So these 5 ideas I came up with that many people might think is like super weird, something that's never going to pan out. However, the truth is that everything today that we take for granted, at one point in time, people thought was never going to pan out, was too far into the future, was unrealistic, and was never going to happen. And the truth is that if you have that attitude, obviously you missed out. And I can tell you that in today's world, things like these ideas, these investment opportunities have a greater chance of happening than at any other time in recent history, because that's the moment that we're in. Lots of technologies are facilitating the likelihood that new technologies have a higher chance of working out than any time in recent history. So here are my 5 that I came up with. Now, the first one I have is vertical farming. So what is vertical farming? Vertical farming is really growing crops in buildings inside versus in a field outside where it's subject to obviously weather conditions. Now you've got bugs, you've got all sorts of variables that are very hard to control, very expensive to control, and also require a great deal of human labor compared to something like vertical farming. Now, you can look at a picture of vertical farming and you can see what you'll see is a lot of LED lights that provides the sunlight. And then you've got water nutrients that are being provided through pipes or through some sort of system so that the plants get exactly the amount of water that they need, exactly the amount of nutrients that they need, exactly the amount of light that they need. And then they are kept in optimal conditions so that yields are higher, waste is low, cost is lower, and the levels of efficiency are so significant that to me, this is a pretty high probability bet, even though it may seem like it's pretty sci-fi today. And in other words, over time, we are going to see more and more vertical farming start to show up in cities and towns around the world where food is grown locally. However, it's grown in a building using vertical farming. So that's idea number 1, vertical farming. And yes, I will mention a couple of ideas that kind of get you into this, even though at this point in time, some of these are so small that there is no ETF that I can just give away for free, because obviously the single stocks that are associated with it, we keep for our subscribers because in truth, they pay us. And that seems like a fair transaction to us. So there are stocks in vertical farming. They are in our small cap and mid cap investment newsletters. And if you're interested in those, if you go to paulmampillyguru.com, you'll see all of the investment newsletters that I'm associated with listed there. And some of those do have stocks associated with vertical farming. All right, idea number 2 is psilocybin. That's the way I'm pronouncing it. Other people pronounce it differently. And psilocybin refers to mushrooms. And mushrooms have a bad rap because they're associated with sort of 1960s, 1970s drug culture. And the truth is that there is a revolution going on in the use of psilocybin and mushrooms with regards to mental health. And the one thing that we have all learned as a result of the pandemic is the value of mental health. There are, if you go on Google or just go read, you'll see the struggles that everyone is having keeping their mental health in line, avoiding burnout, avoiding feelings of desperation, loneliness, and clinical studies that have been done now over the last 5, 10 years are showing that psilocybin, mushrooms that are grown, they have a certain chemical that without any side effects or very few side effects really has the capability to increase mental health by allowing people's moods to lift, allowing them to come out of serious depressions and other serious mental illnesses, which for right now, we only have medications that really have very mild efficacy, often work in very few people, and have significant side effects. And so, this way of treating mental health is, I know, going to be scoffed and laughed at by many people. Nonetheless, there are an entire group of stocks that are working on this field, and it's going to be something that, just like cannabis and other things that were once laughed at and that nobody took seriously, one day you'll just see that there are some fairly large companies that have generated thousands, if not tens of thousands of percent of gains that are associated with psilocybin, because they are able to actually, in a proven way, improve mental health of people. And as I mentioned, this period of time where we have seen working from home, all the pressures associated with the pandemic and other things have really lifted this issue right up front, where we all acknowledge that we need something to help us to get through all of these moments, which was true all along. However, the pandemic has really made this a very, very important issue. All right. And also, once again, the stocks that are associated with this are in our services that we do charge premiums for. Profits Unlimited, from time to time, will put a smaller stock in it. However, I'll be straight up and tell you that there are no psilocybin or vertical farming stocks in Profits Unlimited at the moment. However, there is one from this next one, and that is space. That's my idea number 3, which is that space, as many people are now aware as a result of SpaceX, which is now sending rockets to space. And listen to this, they bring them back. That's right. They send them into space and the same rockets come back. Sometimes they land from where they took off, or sometimes they land on a drone ship in the ocean, and then they're brought back. They are refurbished and they're sent back. And I believe the record for SpaceX rockets is something like 9 or 10 times in terms of reusability. And in fact, they just used a previously used rocket to actually send the most recent astronauts into space. And even the spaceship that they used was also reused. So in other words, we're in a new era of space, where space development is actually something that we can look out 5, 7, 10, 15, 20 years and can see that there is a very good chance that we are going to have a lunar colony in space. I would say beyond very good chance. I would say it's a near certainty that's going to happen. Equally, that we're going to have at some point in time space hotels and space tourism. And in the more distant future, that we are going to have our second planet, the second planet for human beings to live on Mars. And Elon Musk has made this his life's mission to have a second planet that human beings can be on. And all of SpaceX's activity, and just so you know, SpaceX is a $70 billion plus company, which is still private. You cannot buy into it on the stock market in any other way. It's a $70 billion company, and that is their express purpose, is to establish life on Mars. And everything that they do, these rockets that they created, has that end purpose. And this has stimulated a massive amount of investment in the space area, where there's everything from 3D printed rockets. There is companies that are promoting space tourism. There is a company that is planning to put up space hotels, working on lunar colonies. There is an extraordinary explosion of actual real activity with huge amounts of money from big players that are clearly anticipating and seeing that this is going to be a big deal in the near future. And I know when it comes to any of these things, the objection that people are going to have, they're like, Paul, that's so far out. I don't have time. to do all that. And I will say two things that these ideas may be inappropriate for some of you, just straight up. That's just the truth. However, the second thing is that markets anticipate the future. Markets always look forward and they anticipate the future. They are at minimum looking ahead 6 to 12 months. Oftentimes, as their confidence of the likelihood of an outcome increases, they will look ahead by 2, 3 years. And so if you simply avoid these areas, waiting for it to become a reality where you can see nice, smooth earnings growth, perfect earnings, dividends, analyst ratings that are perfect, well, usually by then, a significant amount of the returns are already into the stock, and you've missed out on probably everything from the first to probably like the seventh inning. And that's where some of the biggest money is made. So space is one of these activities, these areas, which is very, very early on. We are in the first inning because these companies are still setting up their business models, still figuring out their technology, yet it's clear that there is huge backing, that the technology is capable of doing what is necessary to make this into a significant, sustainable, and massive and huge business. And I will say that Profits Unlimited does have at present one space stock that is directly related to space in it. And then we also have what we call one pick and shovel stock. In other words, a chip company that has a significant amount of its business associated with making chips that are hardened for space, that have to be particularly rated for space because the amount of radiation and other issues involved in it. So we've covered three so far: vertical farming, psilocybin, space. The fourth one I want to talk about is urban aviation. I did a video on this, in fact, last week. And this is a new business that ultimately is going to, in my opinion, wipe out the airlines. It's going to create a new form of transport that is cheaper. It is going to be more convenient. It's going to end up being more safer and more accessible because you will no longer need an airport for a plane to have a runway to have takeoff, because these are called vertical takeoff and landing. In other words, they can just sit someplace and then rise just like a helicopter. However, they don't even have the issues that a helicopter has. They need a lot less space, and they're a lot lighter. And so this has the potential, I would say more than the potential, is more than likely to end up disrupting all of the aviation transportation that we currently have and replacing it over time. It's likely going to take 3 to 5 years. But once again, remember what I mentioned earlier, which is that markets anticipate. The moment it looks like there is a sustainable business model, the moment it looks like these aircraft are starting to get certified by the FAA and are starting to carry people, that idea even will get investors excited and they will anticipate the future and bid them up. If you want to see more coverage of this particular idea, please check into the video that I did last week on urban aviation. All right. The last one is probably the one that is going to get people's eyes rolling up and saying, oh, Paul, you've totally lost it. But nonetheless, I'm going to bring this up. And people who are invested in crypto will know about this. And it is virtual assets. And I know some people are going to laugh when I talk about it. However, there are several virtual worlds in which you can make investments in. You can buy virtual plots of land. The most well-known one, I believe, is called Decentraland, and you can go buy plots of land on Decentraland. There's also things like virtual property of various kind, animals that you can own. And this, even though many people will scoff at it and think it's kind of ridiculous, the truth is that this is a genuine market that continues to build. There's a similar market to this called NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, which is similar to this. However, virtual property, whether it be land or other things, is a new and growing investment area that can produce substantial, massive returns. Right now, the only real way that I can see is primarily through the crypto markets, where you would need to be a little bit sophisticated in terms of using crypto, in terms of going to be able to access it. However, I'm pretty sure at some point in time that there will also be investments that that you can make through the stock market, and investigating one company that recently came public to think like perhaps they have enough of the same qualities that perhaps they represent also a virtual world. And that's a fairly large company. And if that works out, I'll probably end up putting it into a Profits Unlimited newsletter. As a final thought, which is that if you're looking to sort of capture one investment that can sort of, be in all of this, which is that vertical farming, psilocybin, space, urban aviation, virtual assets, all of these ultimately drive off one of these mega trends that we've talked about. I mean, they all, in some way, shape, or form, use the Internet of Things. They all use artificial intelligence to some extent. And in the near future, they'll all end up using blockchain as well. And so if you think about those, then the places that come to mind quite quickly that you can make investments in that really have participation in all of these things is in chip companies. And I've recommended SMH, which is a semiconductors chip ETF, again and again over the last 5 years. And I would say that's still a good place to get participation from this. And the second place is cloud computing. And I've talked about a few different cloud computing ETFs on YouTube. One has the ticker symbol CLOU. The other one has a ticker symbol SKYY. Any cloud computing ETF will give you general access to general exposure to all of these. And the third one, which may be a little bit harder to see for something like psilocybin, at least, is 3D printing. However, certainly with respect to space and urban aviation and even vertical farming, 3D printing is what is going to create some of the things that are used there. And we would tell you that if you want access to 3D printing, then the PRNT is the ticker symbol for the 3D printing ETF that is run by our friends at ARK Invest. So that's our video for this week. 5 insane, crazy, however, still high potential ideas that could make you, I think over time, 100 times your money, because it's so early in the game in terms of getting into it that you can get into, and a few ways that you can invest in, even if you're unable to buy single stocks that give you the direct exposure. For that, you would need to subscribe to our services, and the entryway to that is Profits Unlimited, which you can go to profitsunlimited.com and subscribe. So that's my video for this week. If you like this video and what we put up on this channel, please support us by giving us a thumbs up, subscribe, and comment below. Are these ideas too crazy for you? Maybe you already invested in it. Let us know in the comments below. All right, this is Paul saying bye.